Hi, and welcome to Day 7 of Keysight University Live. I'm Daniel Bogdanoff, live here in Colorado Springs, and since it's another day of Keysight University Live, that means we have more giveaways, more videos, more drawings. We have all sorts of things going. We have a couple surprises for you today I'm also really excited about. For each day as part of Keysight University Live, make sure to check out that day's webpage. It looks like this, and if you go over to that webpage, you can see there's a nice URL up top. There's some live chat, and if I can find my mouse, there we go. On each day's webpage, we have the live stream that's happening now. We have chat. If you show up live at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, you can join in the chat. The team is monitoring that chat, and I'll do some Q&A at the end as well. And I also watch those during the other videos and interviews that are playing, and we'll reach out to some of you on chat as well. At the bottom of the page, each day we have a special video that comes from our Keysight Labs YouTube channel. You can also watch it here. This one is extra special. I'm really excited about this one. So if you haven't watched it, check out the new release of the Electro Turbo Encabulator. And we had a bunch of folks come through with reviews. So there's reviews from, if you recognize some of those faces, shout out your favorite channel in chat. We got a bunch of great reviews over on that video. So make sure to check that out after the stream if you're watching the stream live. Otherwise, you can, I guess, pause it and go down and scroll, do your thing. Each day, we also have a separate video like this, maybe not quite like this, but we have a stream and an interview and a video. Last week, we looked at controlling an RC car with a function generator. We've had some really great videos this year, so just go through, check all those out. You can also link to each page on the schedule of events. And at the bottom of the page, we have a link to a featured Keysight University course or learning track. Today's learning track is about Eggplant, which is a software company that Keysight recently acquired, and they do like regression testing and GUI testing. So if you do that sort of thing, go check out Eggplant. They do some really, really cool technologies. We'll talk more about that in a future day of the event, but that's the featured course for today. We also have the Smart Bench Essentials Challenge, so make sure to, if you don't want to leave your prize winnings up to chance, you can go check out the Smart Bench Essentials Challenge. We are announcing our second winner today after the interview, which I'm also quite excited about. The other thing you should check out on this page is a Get Exclusive Access. We have some really fun stuff coming for you exclusively for people who were part of the Keysight University Live event. And you can get one extra entry per Keysight University Live event day by clicking that button. All entries are included in all drawings, so feel free to click that. You don't have to be here every day to click it, but that's the best way to get an extra entry and also to tune in live for Q&A and some interviews. So like I said, we have some really exciting things for you today. One thing we've been working on for quite a while, the team has been working on this. It kind of got a little derailed for a little bit because of COVID, but this has actually been in the works since 2019. We have a new set of action figures and a Keysight, I'm going to do this landscape, comic book, and this is not an April Fool's Day joke. This is real. I'm super fun. These are some action figures, and the comic book features, of course, the action figures, and some more information about that. So this is all about a comic series featuring Team Tech Force. Team Tech Force uses nothing but their cunning, wit, and a whole lot of Keysight tech to save the world from chaos, one precision measurement at a time. So, who is Team Tech Force? The team is made up of Minnie, who's the brains, and Kane is the muscle. Minnie's an engineering whiz turned rookie agent. Minnie is out to prove herself in the field. She doesn't need to wait long. Her first deployment is met with catastrophe after catastrophe. It's up to her to spot the hidden signals both within and beyond the tech. And Kane, Tech Force's veteran agent, he's more at ease running through jungles than network tests, where Minnie specializes in IoT. He focuses on security. Kane's got plenty to teach his rookie partner in terms of field work and professionalism, but he's got plenty to learn too. Other main characters in the series are Genevieve, the brilliant and ambitious mind behind Mendacium and Minnie's personal hero. When a mysterious illness besets Del Dormir, she quickly steps in to help. But when Mendacium's tech is impaired by an illness of its own, she calls on the tech team for answers. And Vega, as Genevieve's enigmatic right hand, Vega is never seen far from her side. Not much can be said about this man of so few words, except that he seems to like it that way. His duties revolve around supporting his leader as helpfully, professionally, and quietly as he can. So you're seeing this, you probably want one. So if we look, there's actually a web page that you can go to, and there's a link for that on the Keysight University Live page, and the web page looks something like this. If I can find my mouse again. This one. There's a link for this on the page, and you can actually download your own digital copy of this comic book today, right now. You can go over and do it, and you will get a free download. And we're also, down the road, have coming out both collectible numbered hard copies of the comic book, as well as collectible action figures of the 4 main characters, trading card, and some other swag like socks, and of course the ever popular mugs. We are giving away some mugs. So if you, I'm going to put this here next to the action figures because I know that's what you really want to see is the mugs. The mug comments have been off the rails this year. So if you want to get entered into for your chance to win some action figures, a mug, some socks, or a hard copy of the action comic book, this is your chance. Go download a digital copy. You'll become a member of Team Tech Force and get early access to all this stuff that we have coming. I'm really excited. This is super fun. We've never done anything quite like this before. So if this is something that you want, put it in chat. Go sign up for the digital download of the comic book, and it's available now. Not an April Fool's Day joke, actually happening now. Each day during Keysight University Live, we also have a spotlight about some sort of measurement or Keysight equipment. And today we're looking at ransomware with Packet Boy, aka Mike Hodge. You might have seen Mike Hodge on our YouTube channel a little bit. He's here to teach us a little bit more about ransomware and what we should look out for and how we can, make sure it's not taking over our networks and our computers. So let's roll that.
Your data is ours. Pay us 100 large in Bitcoin or you'll never see it again. These are the kind of things that keep SecOps professionals awake at night, tormenting their dreams with thoughts of compromised data and lost revenue. So what can you do about it? Stay tuned and find out. Hi folks. As you probably know, ransomware attacks are one of the newest and most critical threats to businesses the world over. I'm sure you've heard a lot about things like WannaCry and CryptoLocker, and the unfortunate fact about these types of attacks is that once they're initiated, there really ain't all that much you can do to stop them. Your only choices are either 1, to pay the ransom and hope you get your data back, or 2, wipe your system clean and reload your data from a secure storage site. Now, since neither of these options are particularly ideal, your best option is to prevent these kinds of attacks in the first place. And that means you need to find these gaps in your security defenses before the hackers can. Now, to accomplish this task, I would suggest that you employ a 3-prong approach. That's binary, by the way, 1-1. First, you need to put up a wall that can change as fast as attackers can change their ransomware attacks. Installing a threat intelligence gateway, which I've spoken about before, is the recommended strategy here. It's important here to note that the gateway needs continual updates from a threat intelligence service to function properly. But once it's installed, this device can block new variants of ransomware as soon as they spring up. This intelligence also enables you to understand how these threats behave and function in the wild. However, nothing's 100% guaranteed, right? Therefore, the second prong of this approach is to thoroughly test your equipment for readiness against those ransomware attacks. And rest assured, if you aren't testing your own defenses, hackers are. By testing your own defenses, you give yourself the time to discover if your equipment programming is out of whack and make critical course corrections if something is slightly off. Make sure you get specific about the tests you're running. If you're looking for vulnerabilities, you need to leave no stone unturned. Finally, the third prong of this approach is to get the intelligence you need about the various threats from within your network itself. This enables you to recognize things like malware, botnet, exploits, and hijacked IPs. Threat information on your network like this can then be captured and forwarded to your security appliances through NetFlow. Now, unfortunately, that's all the time I've got for today. But dry those eyes, I've barely scratched the surface of this crucial topic. So for more example use cases, be sure to check out Ixia's ransomware webpage that we've linked in the description below, as well as our very own threat intelligence gateway called Threat Armor. And until next time, this is Packet Boy, signing off.
So thank you, Mike, for that. He has a whole series of videos, a whole series of Packet Boy videos. We're going to put a link for that on the webpage. I just found out that the links haven't updated yet on the page, so we are running with that in the background. We will get pages there. But in the meantime, if you're watching live, we're going to put a link in chat for the comic download. We also have a video that gives you a little more insight into the comic. So while we get those links updated, we can roll that and look for the link in chat. So if you haven't realized, we are definitely live here in Colorado Springs. If you go to the webpage, the link for the comic book download is down here on the bottom of the page. So if you scroll all the way down bottom to the bottom below the Keysight University course, you can see the download here. And that will load. That's why I preload things, because we're live streaming. So that link is down at the bottom of the page. It'll load. You can get your comic book download through that URL. And it looks like it loaded. Let's see. Yeah, same page. Woohoo. So you can see a little more information, and some of the Keysight products and measurements that are used in the comic book are also featured down there. So go check that out. It's really cool. It's a fun thing. Like I said, we've never done anything like this before. So we're really curious to see what people think. So give us your feedback in chat. You can also let us know on social media, shoot a picture of your favorite page of the comic book, something like that. We'd love to see what you come up with. Each day during Keysight University Live, we also do a longer interview with an expert here at Keysight. Today, we're going to look at an open source test automation program called OpenTap with Jeff Dralla. Let's take a look. We're joined today by Jeff Dralla. He's the director of Keysight's automation program. Jeff, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm really excited about this topic. It's something that I've always thought we should maybe branch into, but open source software and tool chains are something that is traditionally not embraced by larger corporations. But you've been working on an open source project recently, and we wanted to spotlight that a little bit. So can you talk about both the open source software you've been working with and that journey of bringing open source into the corporate environment?
Sure. And I would say it's not as much big corporations are against open source as much as definitely in the T&M industry. This is, I would say, a bit more novel an approach to things, and everybody kind of goes through the same kind of experience in transition where it goes from that, wow, should I be doing this? Should I be opening an IP? All the way to, wow, the value you get from that. So our journey started about 10 years ago when we took a few engineers from that used to work at Texas Instruments out in Aalborg, Denmark, so northern tip of Denmark if you're looking up on a map. And we were really focused on doing automation for the wireless device industry. And it was about how do you control a chipset, how do you control an instrument, how do you glue those together and execute a test plan, whether it was calibration, verification, really oriented toward manufacturing test. And we were very, very focused on that market segment. Over the years, we continued to refine that. We expanded into kind of adjacent wireless automation opportunities. And then about the time Keysight formed, it became clear that Keysight really needed a central product for automation of test and measurement equipment. And the funny story is Keysight was there 20 plus years ago. We were a market leader in the former Test Exec SL, which is actually used in some unique industries still. But we were there many decades ago. But in a modern approach, we had been absent from it for a while, and this was an opportunity for us to get back in. So we took the product forward at that time, and it was known as TAP, Test Automation Platform. We went to market, and we started moving it forward. But Keysight had wider software aspirations. And so it wasn't just wireless anymore. It was automation in all of the market segments that Keysight serves. This was really critical. But it was somewhere along that journey where we met a customer in Nokia who wound up eventually becoming a co-sponsor and a lead-out launch partner of the OpenTap project, that we were pushed. I definitely don't think we got there on our own accord, right? We were definitely stewarded and pushed by our customer base, by the community around us, and said, you know what? Automation is critical. it is really valuable. Everything stems off it when we get to test, but it is also commodity in a way, and it is something that we can't allow ourselves to get locked into one specific vendor. Whether it's a commercial tool or if it's on the homegrown side, it's not that you're getting locked in as much as if you're sinking so many of your resources into that and then supporting and maintaining that, again, commodity, a core capability, where you could really be focusing your resources on much more value add around the peripheral. And so both of those kind of boundary conditions converged along with the customer need and said, would you open source this software? And our first reaction was, wow, did our customer just ask us to give all our software away for free? That's an interesting one. But going through the process, doing a lot of research, engaging with the open source community, understanding the value that open source brings, it became really clear that from a core automation perspective, it made a lot of sense to take Tap into OpenTap. Now, there's a lot of value that Keysight will continue to create around that peripheral, as well as our customers, the ecosystem, and even Keysight competitors. Right? This is one of the things you have to be comfortable with in open source. But we really see this as a good thing for the test and measurement market in general. And so far, we're getting a good resonance and response from the industry at large.
So, what is driving people to need something different? I know we see a lot of proprietary in-house tools, and part of that is like someone, a cell phone manufacturer doesn't want to show off all their test sequences and processes that they're doing in their factories to get a phone off the line. So what's driving people to open source and making them okay with it? And kind of where's the line between open source and proprietary in this case?
The line is different. We're finding for every company. Every company has their own unique business strategy that's going to dictate where that line is. They're going to have their own lawyers and IP attorneys that are trying to protect. This is a very real interaction that you have, which I didn't think we would ever have significantly in my earlier years in Keysight. So talking to our IP attorneys on a regular basis to understand this stuff. And so for each customer and each community member, it's going to be different. But some of the examples we've seen where the light really flipped in my head were kind of one internal example and one external example. The external one was where one of the users of OpenTap took a look at it, and this really shocked us at the time, said, you know what, we're going to take all of our plugins for our instrument plugins for OpenTap, things that control the Keysight equipment, but also all the under T&M industry players equipment that we use, because nobody is using 100% Keysight likely. And then we're going to open source that stuff. We're not going to open source the DUT control, the DUT control. We're not going to open source the proprietary test plans that show our unique calibration algorithm. But the test equipment is generic in a way. It's publicly accessible interfaces. So the APIs, the Skippy interfaces, these are standardized, these are documented, nothing's proprietary about them. And we're going to expose those plugins to the open source community. We're going to host them on gitlab.com/opentap/plugins, and we're going to let the world see them. And we were just shocked. We're like, wow, really? You're going to do that? And they said, well, this is our thought process behind it. If nobody touches that plugin in 10 years, then we're not worse off by it. So nothing changed bad. But if somebody contributes code that we think makes no sense, we're in charge of making accepting the merge request. We'll just not accept it, or they'll keep it on a branch. We don't need it. But if even one person contributes something in the form of the classic one is a code contribution or a bug fix, but also documents something or tests something, they're doing that all on behalf of us, and we're not paying them. That's a free resource that's providing value and unique perspective and insight, and making our plugins better for our team to use, as well as others out there in the industry. And we inherently think that's a really good thing. So from an external example, that really surprised us, and it really, I think, validated one of the points of going open source. From an internal perspective, and this has applications externally as well, but it was just, we happened to feel it first, is we just launched a forum for OpenTap 2 months ago, back in December. And check it out at forum.opentap.io if you have a chance. And we use it as a place to pull the gravitational force of the community together, to interact and to dialogue about the project itself. more than the GitLab repo where the code is actually, you can talk if you just want technical. And so we posted some questions out there. We've answered some questions. Obviously, Keysight is going to be the majority of the thought leadership today in OpenTap. We hope over time that changes, and that's the intention. But we started interacting with customers and community members. And at one point, there was a Keysight person that was unbeknownst to us, interested in figuring out some facet of OpenTap, posted a question in the forum. Before anybody in our support team or anybody inside the Keysight community got a chance to even respond, one of the third-party community members, somebody outside of Keysight, answered the question. So we now have a community member outside of Keysight actually solving a problem for a Keysight engineer developing a product somewhere in the company. And just the power of that community interaction is something that we find just amazing and really accelerating ideas and solutions forward in the world, whether it's ours or our customers or, again, even competitors of Keysight's. It's just generally good for test and measurement.
That's a really cool, almost microcosm of why you would do something like this. And the value of doing something like this is we have an engineer who is already getting community support, and we're not spending, our resources trying to help them out. Of course, we would, and we'd get them situated, but there's already some, momentum behind this that people are actively taking this on. When it comes to internal tools and internal sequencers, how much is this streamlining things, and how much is it just another tool to add to the list?
Well, I think it's definitely, it has the potential to greatly streamline things for Keysight. I think Keysight's been doing automation software for many decades. We have our own production facilities, our own production needs, our teams out there. I think we've created more than 20, I heard even 27 sequencers at one point, and we've spent a lot of time over the years consolidating those down. And the answer isn't always getting to one. There are things that have purpose-built needs, and so you don't always converge. But the team has done a really good job in converging and consolidating that down. And this is another facet to add to that mix is, one, it's a sequencer that will allow other plugins, other components to be utilized into our internal manufacturing needs. So we have our order fulfillment, or our manufacturing team is definitely taking advantage of it already to build Keysight equipment. And some of the thought behind it is, if we design a product and do our validation testing with a sequencer that our customers and external community members can use, and then we deploy into our own production with such a sequencer, and then our customers use such a sequencer, it really provides a kind of a continuous model for how automation is done. So by no means are we using it in every facet of our production facilities. It's still quite kind of new to our production teams in a way, but they see value in being able to pick up open source component like a sequencer, just like there's many other tools that are open source out there that they use, like charting libraries or other plugins for different functionality. This is just another piece of functionality that is open source and freely available.
So who should think about considering this if they're not using it today, and how is it going to help them with their test automation projects?
We really group potential users or users into three buckets. So there is a large swath of people coming from commercial products out there already. So they have one of the several commercial test sequencers out there in the market. And it's maybe just not meeting their needs today. Maybe it's not as modern, utilizing all the tools and capabilities of modern software development that they'd like. Or maybe it's just that they feel locked into one specific vendor, and they feel like they need to get away from being tied to one vendor. They need to have a little bit more autonomy in can they see under the hood? Can they look into the black box aspect? So that commercial segment of test automation engineers, that's one group of people that should really consider it. I think another one is the greenfield, the people that have never automated something ever before and now know they need to do it. And we kind of segment them into two use cases. One is a group of people that know they eventually will need to automate down the road, but maybe not today. And this is a way for them to get in and make sure they're ready for the future that's coming. There's another group of people that they're ultimately going to need to automate, but they don't know it today. And so we want to find those people before it gets too late and help them do the testing they need today in more of a kind of configuration, setup, and measurement mode, and then actually deploy that to automation down the road. And so these greenfield opportunities are ones we're really excited about because they're starting from a clean sheet. They're fun, and again, leveraging C# and .NET Core for our development really simplified things and really made it the technical barrier of entry as low as possible. You don't need to learn a new language to work with OpenTAP. You just need to know C# and .NET. And to do that, you could Google it and you'll get all the answers right in front of you. So even if you're not savvy in the language, you can pick it up quite quickly. The final area, and this is always our trick question, who is the biggest competitor in the automation space? And everybody always names a commercial entity. But the biggest opportunity in test automation is the homegrown internal tool. So just like Keysight's created many test sequencers over the years, every one of our customers, everyone in our industry of test and measurement has likely created their own one, or hopefully not too many more, but potentially test sequencers. And that's the opportunity for teams to really take a look at, wow, could I evolve my organization? Could I involve my team? Could I involve myself to do faster automation without getting bogged down in the commodity aspect of the sequencer core, but really provide value? Whether I'm one person or I'm a team of 10 people or I'm an organization of 1,000 people doing test automation, this is going to help all of those people move from a kind of homegrown mentality where that's maybe also very fragmented toward a more unified approach, leveraging the value of the community, and again, focusing on the value add peripheral.
So how does it actually work? So say I'm sitting in a lab, I have a computer, a bunch of test equipment I can throw on the network. How do I get started and get going with it?
So you'd go to opentap.io and you can go to the package repo there. We've got the downloads for all the core software capability. We've got a bunch of the plugins that people have either posted for free. There's also commercial ones that the ecosystem is providing. We've got getting started guides and documentation. You can download this. The software is like a 50-something second download if you've got a decent internet pipe, the install, and you get going. I think the fastest way for people to take advantage of it is to go through our getting started guides and do a couple of demo labs. You don't need test equipment for it. You can do it all kind of on your PC there, follow along, and just get a feel for how the sequencer is architected, how you would develop your first plugin, your hello world example, your hello dut example kind of situation, and then go from there. In the future and near future, I'll say, we're working with a couple different partners to really create some interesting tools, and we're really looking at the education market because these are the community of people that love getting access to free or cheap tools to really communicate knowledge in the space, and we're looking to get them going with a demonstration kit built around this small little Raspberry Pi-like board. It's called a PS Lab board, and it allows kind of a little bit more focused on the test and measurement concepts that are maybe often ignored or maybe just not focused on in academia. And we're really hoping to train the next generation of engineering student specifically for the test and measurement market, because we think it's a really valuable place to take your knowledge and your career going forward. It doesn't all have to be about just the R&D of the next phone. It could be about all the knowledge that goes into testing the next phone or testing the next radar. We think that is a really fulfilling and interesting career ahead. We want to empower those students with the tools to get those jobs in the next stage of their life.
And I'll say for myself, I had no idea coming out of school the breadth and the depth of the whole test and measurement industry, all the things that could be done and how much one could specialize and just really deep dive and geek out on even a specific thing like an oscilloscope or something. There's just so much knowledge out there that universities don't always spend much time on. It's more, theory and
Yeah, I definitely remember the equipment I had access to in a college lab was definitely nowhere near the first even set of stuff I touched when I joined Agilent many years ago. So I think software is an opportunity to really change that, because the deployment cost is rather low or free in many cases, building on open source tools. And then again, there's a few of these capabilities out there that are even open source hardware that at least will get the concepts forward. And again, automation in a test and measurement environment is really important. And it's not something that's just taught in school. And we're hoping that in the near future, it actually will be something that's taught in school.
So what is the future of OpenTap and platforms like this? Where are we going to see ourselves in a month or in 10 years?
Well, I think the months ahead merely are really about continuing to invigorate and evangelize the community, getting the word out there that this kind of concept and capability exists. I mean, it's not that well known yet still. So the traditional marketing and again, getting the next community member to talk to the next 2 community members to talk to the next 5, et cetera, and getting that kind of viral impact and visibility to the project and the technology and the capability, I think is going to be core. So I think over the next 12 months, you're going to see a lot of initiatives from Keysight and hopefully the community at large, kind of getting the word out, getting more people on board, engaging. You're going to see the marketing content and the stories around that. You're going to see technical content in the form of videos, lighting up the YouTube channel, really kind of getting people going and little quick technical tidbits here and there. You're going to see more and more community interaction, doing virtual hacking. You're gonna see us at a bunch of shows, like you'll see us later in March at FOSS Asia. Probably some events here in the US as well. And you'll see us at the regular shows that Keysight normally attends in the form of automation solutions built on Pathwave Test Automation, which is our commercial form, built on OpenTap, a lot in the wireless space, a lot in the automotive space, in the defense space. We have an array of solutions that are, again, all built on the same core sequencer engine and technology. So I think you're going to see a lot about that. When we look at 10 years, I mean, the goal is really to make OpenTap the de facto standard in the T&M industry. It is the thing you go to before you choose anything else, because it is simple to use, it is scalable to meet your needs, it is fast, both in terms of development time and execution time, both. And so those 3 things that really driving it, and the fact that it's open and the core is free and open source, we really think this has the legs to transform the industry. One of our solution partners once told us, well, there's these other tools I use, and nobody really ever got fired for using such and such tool for automation. It's kind of the norm. It's been there, and our response was, we really hope in the future, in 10 years, that you do get fired for choosing such a tool, because you're not going for openness. You're not going for the scalability. You're not going for the simplicity that's going to unlock the real potential of your team, of your individual contributor, of your wide organization. And so it's very aspirational. That is a 10-year vision and a big transformation plan. But it is, I would say, the beacon, the North Star that really pulls us forward is to make automation effortless, is to make it really open and accessible and really democratize the world, at least in a small little cosmos of test and measurement for automation. Obviously, automation goes well beyond what we do in the test and measurement industry on a daily basis. But in our space, we really think it'll make a big difference. And who knows, the next person will do something cool outside. We did have the story early on where one of the engineers decided, I'm going to actually automate my home brewing setup with OpenTap, just because. So, and anything that can connect it back to a good beer and a good story like that is something that we'll stand behind.
Awesome. So, be it beer or the next cell phone, OpenTap seems like a pretty compelling option. Jeff, thank you so much for your time and expertise. It's been great having you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for being with us today. He's actually in chat, so if you're live, you can go check that out. Can you hear me? Make sure my microphone's on. So again, OpenTap, super cool. There's a link for that down with the comic book page as well. So if you're just joining us, we have a downloadable version of the comic book, And you can also, if you download it, you can get potential access to a limited edition hard copy of the comic book and action figures that we have coming, in addition to some mugs and socks and other fun swag. So a couple people mentioned in chat they were having trouble with the link. If you're having trouble and it's not quite working out for you, you can try changing your country. We're working with IT to get that figured out. It should be sorted soon. So I apologize to everyone for that. This is the first time we're driving people to that page, so you are the first people who get to see this, and along with that, you also get muted microphones and pages that sometimes are a little iffy. But it should all be sorted and up now. So again, thank you for showing up in chat and being here. And Jeff, I know Jeff Drala has been answering some questions in chat, and we're going to do Q&A in a moment. But first, we have today's test gear winners as part of Keysight University Live. We're giving away over 100 prizes, over $300,000 in worth of test gear. So today's winners. Every day we have 5 winners who win a Smart Bench Essentials prize. That's a oscilloscope, DMM, power supply, or function generator, your choice. Today's winners of the Smart Bench Essentials are, and these were announced earlier on the Turbo Encabulator video as well, these 4: Nigel Franklin, Joseph McElderry, Nick Patel, and David Reel. Congratulations to those. And our 5th Smart Bench Essentials winner is Chris Vanini. So congratulations to those. We are also giving away 3 U1282A handheld digital multimeters each day. There's one right there. We're giving away 3 of those. Those winners are Caleb Evans, Evan Peter, and Steven Schlacks. So congratulations to you. And last but not least, we have our first prize winner, and they get their choice of a nice high-end 3000 series touchscreen oscilloscope, a 120 megahertz dual channel function generator, a DMM, a couple other prizes. They get their choice of one of those. There's more information about that on the blog page and in the FAQs. That winner is Travis Smith. So congratulations to all of our winners. And we're also, as part of the stream, announcing each week's Smart Bench Essentials contest winner. This week's winner, if we can go to their entry, is Jessie Domingo. And you can see her entry over on the Smart Bench Essentials Challenge page. She put together a really nice video. You can check it out. We'll put a link for this in chat. And I believe there's a link to winners and all the entries on the Smart Bench Essentials Challenge page. This is from the judges. Jessie impressed us with her creativeness and innovation to aspire to use space science to uncover the effects of microgravity on Earth's applications. Her current bench is quite minimal and clearly needs the Smart Bench Essentials equipment to help better test her project, and we agree that her bench equipment should definitely outnumber the plants she has on it. We hope she makes good use of Keysight's Smart Bench Essentials to work from home more effectively and to join forces with other researchers to further space exploration. You can see there's her bench with plants. So congratulations, Jessie. We'll be in touch with you shortly. And we also saw last week's winner, Mark Hughes, in chat. So shout out to Mark. We'll also be in touch with you. We're giving away 1 set of Smart Bench Essentials products, test gear per week until the end of April. So get your entry in now. We'll announce a new winner each Monday. And that is the end of our formal stream. We are now going to transition into some Q&A. So if you have questions, I'm pulling the chat up, and the team has also been monitoring the chat. So let's see what chat questions we had roll in and are rolling in. Everyone says congrats to the winners. Yes, congrats to all the winners. Some questions about the test automation programs that we saw in chat. And again, Jeff has also been in the chat answering some of those. Chat is not always available after the fact, so I'll be repeating some of those answers as well. So far, just C# and .NET supported. Are there plans to support Python? I'll leave, Jeff can answer that in more detail. Right now, we're focusing on C# and .NET. That seems to be the most industry standard in like a enterprise testing environment. I think Python is definitely being considered, but you'll have to follow along with the project and see. You can go to opentap.io to see more about OpenTap. And they also have a YouTube channel. If you search OpenTap on YouTube, they have a channel where they'll release announcements. And go check out the forum, like Jeff said. That's a great place. It's monitored by the creators of OpenTap, and there's a really nice budding community there on the forum, so go check that out as well. Link to that through the opentap.io webpage. Other questions? Mention open source compliance testing when integrating with existing solutions. To my knowledge, there's not a lot of compliance testing happening. This is more compliance testing is one of those things where there's a lot of different ways to go about it and a lot of measurement expertise that goes into it. So OpenTap is open source, so nothing is stopping people from building out compliance test suites using OpenTap. You just have to get the community on board and do it. So that is on, it's on you. Of course, you can also get Keysight equipment that runs specific compliance tests for specific layers and protocols, that sort of thing. You can check that out on the keysight.com webpage. Question from RumbleFump. That's a good name. I have some custom test scripts that monitor analog behavior of my circuit and perform battery measurements. Is that possible with OpenTap? Yes, that's exactly what OpenTap can do, is it can pull and test equipment and test systems from different eras and manufacturers, connect them all over, however you're connecting to your equipment, and do custom scripts. So that's exactly why that's for. And then you could even open source your code or parts of your code to help the community and help other people with their battery measurements. Will this work with my old HP stuff like my HP 70000 MMS? It should. There may not be plugins for that specific piece of equipment, but pretty much anything that can run a Skippy command can work with OpenTap. There's also like a PS Lab board. They're working on an open source little lab on a board type thing, PS Lab. You can check that out. I think Jeff mentioned that in the interview as well, so you can go check that out. Other questions. Are there generic Skippy over GPIB support in the application? Jeff answered this in chat. I think so. Check on the forum. There's a lot of, the forum is the best place to go for, like, if you're having trouble with a specific conversion or a specific product and you're trying to figure out how to get something working. Go check out the forum. Again, the creators monitor that, and there's a nice budding community over there. What else? A couple questions about software included with oscilloscopes. You want to check the data sheet to see what your scope comes with. A lot of the test equipment today comes with a Keysight Cares license and support, so you can get some custom software that comes with your equipment. So, for example, the SmartBench Essentials has a SmartBench Essentials all come with a desktop app that can control each of those pieces of equipment independently. So, super useful. So Dave Jones mentioned in his DMM review that the DMM doesn't do onboard trend charting today, but the desktop app does do that. So there's some added functionality you get for free in the desktop app. What other questions are we getting in chat? These are good questions. Can it run on a Raspberry Pi? I don't know. I'm hoping Jeff can come through and Jeff Draw can maybe mention that in chat. I don't know if it does natively. It's got to be that C#.net. There are some Raspberry Pi software control options out there that they can do Skippy commands. So if you Google control scope with Raspberry Pi, there are some, or test gear with Raspberry Pi, there are some options out there for you. I'm not sure specifically about OpenTap. I imagine in the future that will be something that gets added, but again, it's not a Keysight product, so I can't promise anything on the roadmap there. Other questions? Someone asked, ATEE. What is that instrument under your laptop? This is really cool. I actually pulled this, if we can pop to it. This is an HP 200B audio oscillator from like the 1930s or 1940s. This is the original Hewlett-Packard test and measurement oscillator that was created. This is almost essentially credited with the creation of Silicon Valley is essentially credited to Hewlett-Packard and this piece of equipment. This is a audio oscillator, so it had a special oscillation signal that came out, and it was actually one of the first customers for this was Disney for their Fantasia. When they released Fantasia, the theaters around the globe didn't have sound systems that could actually handle the Fantasia soundtrack. So as they were prepping to release Fantasia, they equipped a few theaters to have a sound system that could handle the track. And they needed a test tool that could test the systems, and this is where the HP 200B comes in. So I actually pulled this out of a display case here. This is kind of, this is really a very special piece of test and measurement history, the HP 200B. You can go look it up. There's a couple write-ups on it on the internet. One of these days, maybe I'll try to turn it on, but it probably needs to be recapped or something, which might be sacrilege. So I'll have to find one on eBay or something and do that. But the HP200B, it's also in the turbo encabulator video. It's super duper cool piece of test gear history. So good question about that. Let's see. There's a couple chats. Oh yeah, Rick Maxwell says I remember seeing that HP200 in a display case when I worked at Agilent Colorado Springs until about 2006. Shout out Rick. Yep, it's just down the hall here. So don't tell people I took it. I didn't ask permission. When was it last calibrated is a question. It's serial number 0906 or 10906. It doesn't have a calibration sticker on it. Probably in the 1940s would be my guess of when this was last calibrated. One of the cool things about the 200B and the reason it was so successful is they used what they called a, quote, non-linear elements in the circuit design for this, and that nonlinear element was an incandescent light bulb, and it did some funky things to the signal to make it a little extra special nonlinear instead of just a pure sinusoidal signal. It had some extra stuff going on, so it'd be really cool to hook one of these up to like a signal analyzer or VNA and see what it does. Maybe that'll be my excuse for turning it on later. Other questions coming in chat. Nice to see this old piece of test gear. Go ahead and rebuild it. I hate the term recapping. Sorry, Chris. Yeah, it's more than just capacitors, but in old vintage gear, that tends to be the thing that blows up when you turn it on after a while. So the last thing I want to do is blow this up. A couple other questions, and then we will call it a day. Thank you all for being here live again, 10 a.m. Mountain Time every day. Yeah, someone asked, is that an original HP audio oscillator? Yes, it is. When are the new turbo encabulator devices going to be available on Element 14 or RS? Remains to be seen. We'll see who picks it up. It's obviously one of the highest tech products on the market today. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, check out the video at the bottom of this page. And we'll do one more question and then call it a day. Oh, this is a good one. Is data cached on the instrument or is it time-stamped and streamed across the network? And that's a question about OpenTap. Usually what happens is the instrument has it stored in its memory and it gets requested from the instrument, and then the instrument sends it back across the network or the test system to the receiving device, in this case, a computer. So typically all the information is stored on the equipment itself. They're designed to take measurements and hold those measurements until they're requested by the display or by an external control. So it's a little bit of both, but it's not just hanging out on the network. It's usually cached, living in the instrument until you request it and save it off somewhere else. Someone's asking for winner names in chat. The winners were announced right after the interview, including the Essentials, the Smart Bench Essentials contest winners. So that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to go check out the link at the very bottom of the page below the course to get your copy of the comic book. Go check out the Keysight Labs YouTube channel. We have, and the other Keysight University Live pages. There are tons of pages. We've had a fresh video, a fresh interview, and a fresh live stream every day. And we'll be back here each Tuesday until April 27th. So make sure to mark your calendars for 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can come chat with me, come hang out with us. It's been super fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Daniel Bogdanoff, and I'll see you next week.